So we're going to be looking at and talking about our last trig function, so to speak. We're going to look at tangent. So now it's just one more tool in your tool belt. So we have a sine tool, we have a cosine tool, and now we have a tangent tool. So the tangent is going to be the opposite side length divided by the adjacent side length. So if you are not given the hypotenuse at all, then you would use the tangent here. The tangent here is going to start with the opposite side, which is BC, divided by the adjacent side, which is AB. All right, so opposite over adjacent. All right, this time it's going to be angle C we're talking about, and opposite of that is AB. Okay, so the tangent of C is going to be AB divided by the adjacent, which is BC. So no hypotenuse this time. All right, so now let's go look at these practice problems. We're going to find the value of x this time. So we are given this angle here, 55, and then we need to find this opposite side. The only other thing that I'm given is this adjacent side. So therefore, I'm going to use tangent. Okay, the tangent of theta, remember, is the opposite divided by the adjacent. And so therefore, the tangent of 55 is going to be equal to the opposite, which is x, divided by the adjacent, which is 33. Then I'm going to get rid of that divided by 33 by multiplying by 33 on each side. And so therefore, I would just plug this into my calculator, making sure that I'm in degrees and just a double, and then plugging that in there. So I come up with 47.1 is equal to x. So I'm just going to double check and verify. I don't have an hypotenuse to verify it with. So it's not really, this is not something that we can just, it doesn't have a built-in check system like it does when we're given the hypotenuse. Okay, so this time we are going to use trig to find the value of x. The value of x, or the x that we're looking for, is an angle measure. So I'm given the opposite and the adjacent. So therefore, I'm going to use the tangent. So the tangent of my angle theta is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. So the tangent of x, which is what we don't know, is equal to the opposite, which is 17 divided by 11. Well, just like all the other times when we are trying to find an angle measure and we're trying to undo the trig, it's the inverse. So I'm going to take the inverse of each side. Okay, so remember, if you do something to one side, you have to do it to the other. So x is equal to the inverse tangent of 17 divided by 11. And so x is equal to 57.1. And that's in degrees. So that makes kind of sort of sense because it should be less than 90, and it is, and it's not a negative number, which would possibly get if you have it in radians. So just do some evaluating that after you get your answer. All right, so again, we're going to find the angle measure. Okay, so the angle that we're talking about is x, which is right here. And then let's see what we're given. We're given the opposite and we're given the adjacent. So that means we're going to use tangent. So I'm going to say the tangent of theta is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. And so the tangent of x is equal to the opposite, which is 12, divided by the adjacent, which is 29. So this time I'm going to use the inverse tangent on each side. So I take that from, remember, doing that, whatever we do to one side of the equal sign, we have to do to the other side. And so therefore x is going to be equal to the inverse tangent of 12 divided by 29. And I'm going to put this in my calculator. And so I get x is equal to 22.5. And that is degrees. Okay, so 22.5 there. So on this one, again, just evaluating it based on the fact that it's a less than 90 and it's not a negative number. So I'm good there. All right, on the last one here, we are going to find the horizontal distance the helicopter is from the boat because it makes a 90 or it makes a right angle, the boat and the helicopter vertical horizontal distance there. So let's look here. I have this angle 40. I'm given the opposite and the adjacent. I'm trying to find the adjacent. And so I am going to have that gives me tangent. So the tangent of theta is equal to the opposite divided by the adjacent. So the tangent of 40 is equal to the opposite, which is 900, divided by the adjacent, which is x. So this time to undo that, I'm going to have to multiply by x on each side. And so I'm left with x times the tangent of 40 is equal to 900. And then I'm going to divide by the tangent of 40 on each side. So basically, remember, we talked about this. It's basically like x and the tangent or cosine or sine switch places. But switch places is not a mathematical term. So they don't technically, you can't say, hey, just switch places there. So the x is going to be 900 divided by the tangent of 40. I'm going to plug that into my calculator. And I get 1072.6. Okay. And so therefore, I'm looking here, it's pretty close to 900. When I first got 1000, I thought, whoa, I must have done something wrong. But if the other one is 900, then this one seems very viable to be 1000. So 1072.6. And we're talking about feet here. Okay. So tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. All right. So we have our three tools. We have sine that's opposite over hypotenuse, cosine, which is adjacent over hypotenuse, and then now tangent, putting those two together, basically where we have opposite over the adjacent. And so that's it as far as the trig functions and being able to use those. So again, whatever you're given, use that trig function. And sometimes you can use several of them to figure out what you need, and so you just pick one. But that's just basically whatever you're given, that's a trick that you're going to use. So now it's your turn to practice tangent with your skill check.